It's the 31st of the 12th, 2024. Happy New Year's, everyone, preemptively. Thank you so much. Let me preface what I'm about to say with this. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, having conversations with me, fact-checking me, calling me out on my F1 ball feathers each and every single time. Genuinely, it means more than you might know as we try, you and me and we try to build this F1 community through which we can have these conversations, respectful as always, but it's dialogue, modes of discourse, back and forth, indeed disagreement. Why else would you do it? Consensus is boring, but I digress. Let's talk about Ralf Schumacher. Yes, Starley, he said these things a while ago, right? But going into 2025, it's more pertinent than ever. We'll talk about what he said about Lewis Hamilton because everybody's riffing on Lewis Hamilton, and I think it's a mode of conversation, discourse, even, and then we'll get to awards, a cheeky end of year review. We'll award race of the year, overtake, team, drive and driver of the year, the key ones, the ones that really matter. Go on, let's talk about Lewis Hamilton because it feels like every man and their dog over the past 2 weeks has been riffing on Sir Lewis as we approach the time when we see him in that Maranello car. From memory, it will be February the 19th, February the 18th, his livery launch. That will be the O2 Arena. All the cars will be there. Again, in homage of the fact that F1 is 75 years old this year. Then the very next day, we will see Lewis Hamilton for the first time in the red car, emblazoned with the yellow badge atop the black horse. It will get techie, and I am here for it. But ahead of that, every man and their dog is talking about whether Lewis Hamilton is fit for purpose, whether he's what Ferrari need. Lest we forget the context, the broader context of this is that they've jettisoned off one of the good ones on the grid, one Carlos Sainz Jr., and we've seen all of the homage and the video commemorating him leaving. Carlos Sainz put out an Instagram today suggesting that him and Charles Leclerc are friends, and that's not going to change the fact that he will next year be at Williams. That this is a friendship even that will endure, last long beyond their partnership as a driver pairing at Scuderia Ferrari. Peter D. Wins, a friend of the channel, said it doesn't sit well with him that Carlos Sainz, as good as he is, will be driving at Williams and not Scuderia, potentially soon to come back after Lewis Hamilton retires one day, 39, soon to be 40 years old. Here's what Ralph has said though, for the avoidance of doubt, Starley. You know what I mean? Here's what he said. The biggest difference between Lewis and Michael is that among many other qualities, Michael was able to develop a car perfectly for his driving style together with the engineers. Lewis Hamilton, though, cannot do that. He's never been able to do that, never will be able to do that. He can't listen to the team nor what the driver nor what the car is telling him and translate those messages back in a meaningful way to his technicians and engineers. Oh, the humanity. Now listen, I've heard a couple of people say that before when they're comparing and contrasting Lewis Hamilton and his ability to feed back technical information, and I'm not sure I believe that. How would you know, Ralf Schumacher, if I played devil's advocate? How close are you to the circumstance, or is this just hearsay? Surely I'm making such a flagrant allegation, such slanderous, blasphemous behaviour. You need to have first-hand evidence, although I will contend that I have heard people say that about Lewis Hamilton before, people who have worked alongside him. But again, if you have the natural talent and ability of a Sir Lewis Hamilton, do you need to get in the weeds necessarily around technical development? But again, it depends who you listen to. There are different strands of this argument, again, depending on who you talk to. Ralf Schumacher continues, Lewis must demonstrate his ability next year to adapt and perform at Ferrari. That the danger is there, however. If everything goes badly, as it has over the past 24 months, most notably in the head-to-head in qualifying versus King George Russell of Kings Lynn Norfolk, he might not see out his Scuderia Ferrari contract if he's unable to bounce back from his struggles. He continues speaking to Germany's Sport 1 that two legendary names will be coming together in Scuderia Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton. That's for sure. He says, you've already seen how Ferrari shares skyrocketed when Lewis Hamilton switched to Ferrari was announced, but the deal also harbours a huge risk if it doesn't work out. Well, I'll see you that and raise you this, Ralf Schumacher, because of course the news was announced on the same day as Scuderia Ferrari's quarterly results were to market. The reason why the share price did one of these is predominantly because Ferrari, in those statements, in that financial result, they announced their forecast was higher than estimates. Indeed, their forecast was a beat as versus market expectations. That's why the market did one of these per Scuderia Ferrari and their stocks, not, as you mentioned, Sir Lewis Hamilton news, though that can't have hurt. But again, you got to fact check these dudes when they start talking this stuff. Ralf Schumacher asked how great the risk is. Ralf Schumacher added, in my eyes, it's very big. If Lewis doesn't have a similar driving style to his new teammate Charles Leclerc, we've now seen what that means at Mercedes, that George was faster than Lewis. One thing is clear though, Ferrari will not be able to build two different cars. No team can do that. No kidding, Sherlock, on the final one. Why would they build two cars for? That's never ever happened. You build one, you build the quickest one in the hope that your quickest driver can adapt with a view to optimize for their ability. No chances to win races and therefore championships. However, I would contend and push back on Ralf Schumacher's assertion this way. If you're talking about risk, it depends on the lens through which you analyse the Lewis Hamilton move. Are we talking about meritocracy, the ability to deliver championships, or are we talking with shareholder cap on? Because indeed, Ralf Schumacher, how could it be a big risk if indeed the share price has already done one of these? Ferrari, the shareholders and the C-suite exec level bods have told you on a gazillion occasions that they want to build a luxury brand, no longer a sports car. So who then, on that grid of 20 drivers, is better positioned as far as being a marketing behemoth, mainstream superstar, to catapult Scuderia Ferrari from where it is now into that strategic objective luxury brand than one Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton? The prosecution rests, Ralf Schumacher. No further questions, Your Honour. Let's talk about awards. A cheeky season wrap up because it is New Year's Eve after all. Are there not two sides to the garage in any team? Absolutely. Why can't they have two cars? Not two cars separately as far as its handling dynamic, Troy. It's cost cap era. They don't have financial resource nor operational resources sufficient to build two different cars. Of course, you can think of setups, adjust the setup in real time to lean into one driver or other. The setups won't be perfectly symmetrical. Charles and Lewis absolutely have a similar driving style. They both like it very on the nose. They both like rear stability. They both like predictability and drivability and downforce all wrapped up into one. But that doesn't mean necessarily that they'll have, Scuderia or Mercedes will have resources sufficient to go and build two different cars. You build one car and you tinker with the setup with a view to lean into one or other driver's style. But I digress. Let's hand out some awards. But what's race of the year? Let me know in the chat. What do you reckon was race of the year? There's a couple that split. I'm on the fly here, freestyle settings, but this is important. It's been a killer year. Oh, the humanity indeed. Gentile killer. Troy. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You understand what I mean by that, Troy. You can't, it's cost cap era, but I digress. Go on then, race of the year. Let me know in the chat what was the race of the year. We put out a poll on the community tab a couple of weeks ago. What sticks out in mind? There are three. Of course, it's Silverstone. Of course, it's Baku. And of course, it's the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. Silverstone was Lewis Hamilton's coming to again, showing the world and the doubters and the naysayers exactly who this dude is yet and still. It was changeable conditions and it was Sir Lewis Hamilton in his pomp. How do you hate that? You saw Cameron over here, eye water, hay fever settings. Such an emotional moment for me, was it? Because I wasn't sure, as Lewis Hamilton wasn't sure whether he'd ever see the top step of the podium again at 39 years old. That had to mean something emotional, evocative, if anything. So too, let's talk about Baku. Baku was nuts, ladies and gentlemen. Now, no, after the fact, you look back on it and it's mini DRS settings, flexi wing settings. Those absolutely have to go into the contributants of the eventuality that Oscar Piastri was able to win his first race. 1000%, but bloody Nora. Like, come on. Like, it wasn't a bad race, eh? Oscar and Charles, young, hungry lions, both going at it. How do you like your Formula One if it's not that? Who was going to win? It was stakes, uncertainty. Who was going to climb the mountaintop that was 25 points at Baku in Azerbaijan? Who knew? It was techie. I loved that Grand Prix. That was one of the ones that had my spine tingling, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. And so too, it would be remiss of me as an F1 fan not to talk about Maximilian Verstappen at Brazil. I think we'll cover this more in drive of the year. But I mean, bloody Nora, how could that not be race of the year? Brazil, Max Verstappen, Ocon, stakes, Lando Norris, changeable conditions. I've got to give it to Baku. It sounds blasphemous, right, for me to talk about Max and Brazil that way. So to Sir Lewis and Silverstone, British Grand Prix that way, and then give it to Baku. But there was something about the second stint at Baku when Oscar Piastri was forced to hold off a fire-breathing dragon in Charles Leclerc. Slay for that dragon. I just thought it was incredible. Book it in. That's my decision. Take it to the bank. Race of the year, Baku. Overtake of the year. There's a few contenders. Liam Lawson of Brazil nailing one Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso on the same piece of track. That was good. Colapinto in Austin. There was a couple of decent ones from in there, but I've got to give it to Alex Albon on Ocon and Danny Rick at Canada. Again, techie conditions. How can you do 2 in 1? It's one of those totemic moments, isn't it? A moment that Alex Albon was able to nail both of those bods in the wet, changeable conditions, absorbing more curb than you deem necessary or safe. Team of the year, and this one's techie, isn't it? Who are the contenders, chat? Can you even give it? Can you even put the balls that are red in there? I don't think so. It's been too chaotic. Max Verstappen won despite all of that stuff, the rancor, the beef between Joss and Christian Horner, not because of it, depending on who you talk to. I cannot in good faith put them in. Mercedes again didn't give Lewis Hamilton the car. Toto the boy who cried wolf, saying that he was going to give Lewis Hamilton a car using which he can win himself an unprecedented 8th drivers championship. Where is that? Nowhere to be seen. And on that count, I've got to discount completely Mercedes and the boys and girls from Brackley and Brixworth. So that leaves then only 2 teams for team of the year. Scuderia Ferrari, to whom, by the way, Sir Lewis is moving in 2025. And of course, we've got to talk about the papaya colour team. Now, look, if I'm going to discount the papaya colour team, it would be on by dint of the fact that they've made multitudinous errors of the unforced variety. Silverstone failing to double stack. Lando Norris too hasn't been great all year. Well, he's been brilliant at times, but consistency has been his failing. That's the altar at which his championship campaign has ultimately faltered. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult for me to give them, but the context more broadly is this. Only 12 months ago, they were dropped dead last in the championship. There's not a season when I can remember a team advancing at the rate at which they have. They were nowhere, the papaya-coloured team, notwithstanding all of their mistakes. I mean, you could even argue that they weren't ready to compete for a championship, not drivers, not constructors, but yet and still in 2024, they are the constructors, and for that, they deserve something. No. And then on the other hand, you got to talk about Scuderia. Up until Monaco, they were incredible. But then Charles Leclerc and Frederic Vasseur jumped in the Monaco harbour and their form went somewhere. Towards the latter stages of the season, they came back and they were brilliant. Charles Leclerc trending even his mistakes down as near as makes no difference to 0. And for that, your boy Cameron has to eat some humble pie. Let's bench for a couple of months the moniker modern day Jean Lazy, because he was very good, was Charles. But yeah, and still, I've got to give it to not to Ferrari, even McLaren. Team of the year, the papaya coloured team, notwithstanding him. It feels, I say that begrudgingly. I'll be honest with you. I feel like they could and should potentially have run drivers and constructors more easier than they had done. But again, their championship, as far as the drivers, fell foul of the multitudinous mistakes even of Lando Norris. But yeah, and still I can give them the team of the year. Drive of the year, oof. Go on then. Who are the contenders? Lewis Silverstone, not a bad driver. Bloody Nora, understatement of the year. Be careful, Cameron. The Lewis Hamilton fans will come for you, not giving him the credit that he deserves. No, he was incredible. You saw me tearing up. Been in this Lewis Hamilton PLC stock a long while, me. 2006 GP2 Pizzione and that Nelson Piquet Jr. into Maggots, Beckett's. What do you mean 3 deep? Been here a while, so that meant something to me. More than most, I would contend. But listen, I've got to give, as far as a drive of the year, if this is a meritocracy, of course I've got to give it to Maximilian Verstappen and Brazil. What do you mean? And in there you can throw in Imola, so too Canada, no, so too Spain. They were also decent drives, but against the pressure the backdrop of a fire-breathing dragon in Lando Norris, nose breathing down his neck, with the championship on the line on the morning when his hands were ice cold, just like they were in 2021, when his back was up against the wall and the rain and the monsoon conditions, and GP says stay out for another couple of laps and we'll be all right. Maximilian Verstappen got it done, and for that I've got to give him driver of the year. Brazil, Maximilian Verstappen, 2024. Again, repeating, not a dissimilar drive to whatever he put down in 2016. There are levels to this game, to this handling dynamic game, being able to keep a car on the black stuff. But I digress. Driver of the year, who's in for that then, chat? You guys let me know who you've got for driver of the year. Is it Charles? Could I give it to George potentially? I think there are only two names that can be in this. I think it's got to be between Lando and it's got to be between Maximilian Verstappen, or some say soon to be 5-time champion. Now look, let's argue the Lando Norris case, bless him. Again, that's another moniker that I might have to put to the side for another couple of months, because he was really good. I mean, flipping Nora, if you're talking about how brightly his flame burned at its brightest, Zandvoort, 20 seconds down the road from Maximilian Verstappen, normalised for his bloody ostensibly quickest car on the grid. Lando was incredible at his best. This is the truth. You need to go and look at the final Grand Prix Abu Dhabi. But the problem is, the counter argument for Lando Norris as driver of the year is, of course, this. The greatest ones have that ability, that uncanny knack of being able to extract from themselves the best of their abilities in the in the moments that matter most, even when it's techie. Do you know what I mean? Squeaky bum time, just like Max did in Brazil. And I'm not sure, by dint of Austria, by dint of Kota 2, whether Lando Norris proved that he had that in his toolbox. Not yet. I feel like this season came maybe a season or two too early for Lando. That's not me saying that he wasn't brilliant, because he was brilliant, particularly when his flame was burning at its brightest. But driver of the year, how could I not give that to Maximilian Verstappen? Visual says Lando had the best car after Miami and the worst strategy team. They made lots of faux pas, did they not? Kayla says, Andre Silva, hear me out. I'm a Norris fan all the way, would vote for him, but I'm going to be humble. You've got to give it to Listen, I love some of the things that Lando did. I remember being a mate, in particular, the drive in Zandvoort was like, oh my good, like, mate, if you could put 20 seconds on Max like that. He has this otherworldly pace when he's in his bag and he's had his Weetabix. Lando is nothing if not quick, market leading quick, every bit as quick as Max Verstappen, maybe. In equalish machinery, in brackets, potentially. We'll see. But again, what Lando lacks is the ability to be consistent. Lando even said it. Said 9 times out of 10 over the course of a race weekend, the person that takes 25 points from it will be the person that makes the least mistakes. And that has to matter. Has to mean something, right? To summarise then, race of the year. What have you given that to? Brazil, I think. Overtake of the year. Got to be Alex Albon at Canada. Can't even remember. My memory's going all over the place. You can tell I'm doing this on the fly. Yeah. Team of the year, that's got to be McLaren. Driver of the year, Brazil, Maximilian Verstappen. And driver of the year, Lando Norris. Having a laugh. Behave yourself. Give that to Maximilian Verstappen. 4-time champion. That thing has only happened a few times, eh? Michael Schumacher back to back to back to back. Sebastian Vettel to Juan Manuel Fangio. From memory, I think those are the only other bods who have nailed it. 4-time champion. Imagine if he can nail an unprecedented, nearly 5th consecutive Drivers' Championship next year. Oh, the humanity, in the same year where Maximilian Verstappen Jr. will be born. What are we doing here, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a chaotic year. Next year, though, is only going to get more chaotic. We will continue to report and talk and argue and go back and forth in a way that's respectful always, because I mean, who else is doing this in the space? This is you guys more than me. My name is above the door, but this community thrives and survives on the back of all the hard work in industry and all the conversations and all the fact-checking Cameron and all the calling me out on my ball feathers and redirecting me to the fountain of truth, value and objectivity even, because for the avoidance of doubt, we will never ever sacrifice objectivity nor true value at the altar of partisanship, nor recency, nor confirmation bias. Can't do it. No, I won't do it. We'll never, ever do it. I say all that to say this. Thank you guys so much for all the support, for watching all the videos, joining in all the lives, supporting, joining in on the members, super chats, conversing, F1 chat each and every single time. Have yourself a fantastic new year. Get your feet up, have a drink, hug somebody that you love, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. As always, between now and then, remember, the prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.